what's really confusing and doesn't give beginners a break? That's right, it's Linux. But not for long, guys, because today I'll show you 55 Linux commands for complete beginners. Just by knowing them, you'll be able to impress all of your friends, or I mean, at least get things done with your Linux server. Now, just before we begin, you'll need a system running Linux. I mean, duh. Now that can be either your local machine or a remote VPS server. If it's the VPS option, you'll need a way to connect it. Mac and Linux users can do that via terminal. Now, if you're on Windows, you'll need an SSH client. I personally recommend PuTTY for this job. Now, if you don't have it, I'll link it right in the description below. Oh, and something else you'll need is a desire to learn. But since you're watching this video, I'm sure you've got that fully covered. So let's get straight into the commands, guys. First up, ls. This is about as simple as it gets. Run this command and the terminal will output the contents of the current directory. If you wish to check a particular directory, just add its path after the command. A couple of helpful options to use with this command include -r, which lists the items inside subdirectories, and -a that shows hidden items. Now next up we have the pwd command. Run this command if you're unsure of what directory you're currently in. The command has two valid options, add -l, and the command will print environmental variable content such as shortcuts instead of the actual path. Now conversely, if you wish the exact canonical path, run pwd with the -p option. Now next up, keep the following command handy. I bet you will be using it quite a lot. So run cd to navigate to another directory that you can then work in. There are a few shortcuts associated with this command. For example, you can run cd on its own to return to your home directory. Cd followed by ... will move you up to the parent directory of your current location. Finally, we have cd followed by a hyphen, which will return you to the previous directory. Now, the fourth command you should be intimately familiar with is mkdir. Run it to create new directories. Well, basically it's in the command, make directory. And then specify a full path if you want to create a new directory in a specific location. If you don't, the new directories will be created where you currently are. Use the -m option if you want to set specific user permissions for the new directory. I'll talk more about permissions later when we go over the chmod command. Now, let's get back to the other commands for now. So now you'll need to balance your power to create new directories with the ability to delete empty ones. That's exactly what rmdir does. Add the -p option if you wish to delete a directory that contains subdirectories. The command won't do that by default, by the way. You've also got to be the owner of the directory you wish to delete. If you aren't, prefix rmdir with sudo. Similarly, you can delete files with the rm command. If you're not the owner of the files, you'll need to prefix rm with sudo. The -i command option will display a confirmation message before the system deletes the files. Use the -r flag to remove a folder and its contents. Now, the cp command will let you copy files from your current location to the target directory. You can also use this command to copy files contents to another one. Just make sure to insert the full path to the target file to do that. Finally, we have the -r option. It will let you copy a directory and its content to another location. Now, since you know how to copy stuff, how about learning how to actually move it? It's quite simple. Use the mv command. Now, the same command can be used to rename files, just provide the old and new file names to do that. With these powers combined, you can also rename and move a file simultaneously. You'll need to specify full paths to the file and its new location to do that though. Now, mkdir creates directories. Touch creates files, on the other hand. If you only specify the file name instead of the full path to it, the new empty file will be created in your current directory, like in this example right here that I'm showing you right now. The 10th most important command, if you ask me at least, is file. What it does is very simple. It checks the type of the specified file. If you want more information to be printed, add the -k option. Now next up, let me present the zip command to you. Use it to create a new archive that compresses the files you've specified. Similarly, you can use unzip to extract an archive into the current directory. Alternatively, you can bundle files together without compression with the tar command. To create a new tar file, make sure to use the -c option. Then include the -f flag to specify the archive's name. This is basically what the command will look like. You can unpack a tar archive in the current directory by running the command and specifying the archive name. Now, here's a 3-for-1 deal, except, not really. Use one of these commands to edit a file using a file editor. The one you use will depend on the tool you have available. If you run the command and the specified file doesn't exist, a new one will be created for you. Okay, now concatenated or cat is a command that lets you do a few things. First up, it prints the contents of the specified file. If you want to print the contents in reverse order, run tag. Then you can add the standard output operator symbol, the more than sign, as an option to create a new file. And finally, you can combine multiple files into one using cat. Specify the files you want to combine, add the standard output operator symbol, and finish the command with the name for the target file. Here's another search command for you, which is grep. Use it to look for keywords inside of files. You can also look for your keywords within the output of a different utility. To do that, add grep after a vertical bar, like in this example. Now set is next up on the list, and this one's pretty versatile. Depending on the syntax, you can use it to manipulate text documents in a lot of ways. In this tutorial, let's focus on the find and replace function. Now you can do that by using the syntax on the screen. Running this will replace the first instance of your keyword in a line. If you want to replace all instances, add a -g at the end like this. If you really want to get into Linux, make sure to read more about this command. I'll leave the link in the description below for a tutorial, so make sure to check it out. Okay, up next we have head. Run this command to print the first few entries of a file. Like with grep, you can use head to print the output of another command, just insert it after a vertical bar. And without any options, head will print the first 10 lines. You can change it to more or less lines by using the -n option followed by your desired number, just like this right here. Now on the other side of the coin, you've got tail. It does the same as head, but in reverse. So you can run it on its own, append it to another command, and modify it with the same options. Now the next command on our list could probably take up the whole video by itself, but let's just keep it short and sweet for today. However, and briefly feature awk. Now, awk enables you to program statements that define text patterns to search for in each line of a document. Then it takes the defined action when a match is found. The regex pattern you can see in the command is what awk will be looking for. If you wish to learn more about awk, check out the link in the description below. Meanwhile, sort is another simple command. Use it to sort a file's contents and print them out. By default, sort uses the alphabetical order, but you can use the -r option to reverse it or the -n to sort the lines numerically. Also, sort doesn't change the content of a file, it just prints out as instructed. Now that we've looked at 20 of the best Linux commands for beginners, it's time to put your knowledge to practice. And what better way to do that than with our special offer on VPS Hosting? Seriously, our VPS Hosting is just awesome for both pros and beginners. That's because it's not only fast and secure, but it also comes with your own personal AI assistant. Meet Cody. Let me show you Cody real quick. Cody is a never snarky helper that has the full context of your server and will help you look for information, learn more about commands, and get whatever you wish done. Oh, and if you want to run any commands on the go, but you don't have your SSH client handy, that's not a problem. Log into hPanel and you can interact with your server via our terminal straight from your browser. Check out the link in the description and get your VPS hosting today right now. And for a limited time only, you can get an extra 10% off of yearly or longer plans with the discount code VPS10. And that's a cut. Sorry, cut is the next command we're looking at today. So it prints out the specified contents of a file, and yes, you have to use options for this command to work. You can combine multiple options to spice cut up a bit, but don't worry about that just yet. In this example, we're extracting whatever's been the 3rd and 5th line. If you like finding differences, you'll love this command because that's exactly what it does. Diff compares the contents of 2 files and prints out only differences. Now, if you want to see all of the contents with the differences highlighted, insert -c option. Next up, T. Use this command with another to output the results into a text file. If the file doesn't exist, T will create it. If it does exist, it will overwrite the old file. You can prevent that by adding the -a option to the command. The old contents will remain the same, and the new output will be added to the file. Moving on, we've got locate, and I mean, it's pretty easy to guess what locate does. That's right, it looks for stuff. More specifically, it searches for a file and prints its path. As a beginner, remember the -i option. It will ignore case sensitivity. Now, the next command, find, is similar, but different. It looks for a file within the specified directory. Omit the path, and it will search within your current location. Add the -name option, and find will look for files matching your keyword. Alternatively, you can add -type F to look for files, and -type D to search for directories. Next up, we've got sudo. This one's important, guys, but I waited for the right time to talk about it. That's because it gives you the power to execute administrator level commands. Add it before another command to run it with the super user privileges, like in this one. Run it and you'll open the nano text editor with the administrator privs. Use sudo with caution, however, as with it, there are no safety rails, basically. Wondering who you're logged in as? Well, you can run whoami and find out. It's as simple as that. It's just as easy to change the user run su. Just specify the username you want to switch to, and if you don't, you'll be logged in as root and have to enter the password. Now we're really cooking. Time to change permissions. Chmod will let you do just that. Run it to change the permissions on a file or directory. Now Linux has 3 folder and file permissions. We have read, which is R, write W, and execute, which is X. Similarly, there are 3 parties that the permissions are assigned to: owner, group, and other. So take a look at this example command. The rwx means that the owner will have the 3 permissions. The groups, meanwhile, will have none of the permissions. Finally, other users will only have the reading permissions. It might look tricky, but remember that there are 9 spots after the hyphen to describe permissions. 3 for the owner, 3 for the groups, and 3 for other users. In a similar fashion, you can use chown to change the ownership of files or directories. You can skip the new group bit if you wish to only change the owner. Meanwhile, if you skip the new owner name, the file will be assigned to all members of the specified group. If you do go with the group ownership change, don't forget to keep the column there. Up next, I've got a 3-for-1 deal for you guys. First up, we have useradd. Run it to add a new user to your system. By default, this command won't assign a password to this new user. Run passwd to fix that. And finally, you can run userdel to get rid of a user. You might need to prefix the commands with sudo if you're not logged in as root. And diff is a handy command that will let you check just how much disk space you're using. The output shows that the percentage and data in kilobytes. If you don't specify the file system you want to examine, diff will show all the file systems within the same output. Meanwhile, run du to check the size of a directory. If you don't specify a path or directory name, your current directory will be examined. Add the -m option if you wish to see the output converted to kilobytes. Now that you know how to check your disk usage, it's time to learn how to check the processes that are currently running. You can do that by running top. You can add the -d option to change how often the data is refreshed. Specify the interval in seconds and tenths of a second, separated by a colon just like this. This will refresh the data every 1.5 seconds. Not okay with just viewing the processes and want to manage them too? Well, run htop. The syntax is exactly the same as top. You'll be able to perform various tasks by pressing the buttons assigned at the bottom of the screen. Finally, if you only want to view the snapshot of your system at the current time, run the ps command. The magic happens when you use the options. Add -a if you want to list all processes on your system, -r to view the currently running processes, and -u along with the username to see the currently running processes assigned to that account. Next up, you can check the detailed information of your machine by running uname and adding the option -a. If you skip this option, you'll only learn the kernel name, and that's well, boring. As a user of VPS Hosting, hostname is a good command to be familiar with as well. Again, it's the option that makes it shine. Add -i to check the IP address, -a to see the hostname alias, and -A to print the system's fully qualified domain name. Now, the time command is up next. And no, guys, it doesn't tell time. Instead, it tells you how long a particular command or script takes to execute. It can also compare several commands, separate them with semicolons to do that, like this. Now, systemctl will come in handy when you want to manage the services on your Linux system. And depending on what you want to do, you might have to add the sudo at the beginning. Now, you can list restart, terminate, or enable the services. This might be quite complicated, so check out the article right in the description to learn everything you need to know about systemctl. Now, if you want to run a specific command at a regular interval, watch will come in handy as well. That's exactly what it does. Let me show you. By default, it runs the specified command every 2 seconds, but you can change that by adding the -n option and specifying the delay in seconds. Up next, we've got jobs. That is the jobs command. It lets you check the tasks and commands that are currently running. So if you run it without any arguments, it will print the list of all tasks currently running both in the background and foreground. If nothing's running, there will be no output. Add the -i option to see detailed information about each job. Add the -p option to print out only the process IDs. And since you know how to find out what processes are currently running, you need to also know how to stop them. That's where the kill command steps in. You can get the process ID by running ps-ux. And what's the signal option bit? You're wondering, I bet. Well, it's specified how the process should be terminated. If you don't specify it, the kill command will let the program save the progress before closing it. You can learn more about the kill command by checking out our tutorial on it. It's also in the description, just like all the other tutorials I've linked before. Now, here's another triple treat for you. apt, dnf, and yum, except you'll only be using one of them, depending on your Linux distro and how old it is. Debian and Ubuntu users will be using ATP, and Fedora and RHEL will rely on DNF. Unless it's an older system, then it's just yum. What do they do, you may ask? They install and manage packages. That's right, they're package managers, basically. To keep this simple, you'll be using one of these tools with commands to install new stuff onto Linux. This is what the commands might look like when installing a new package. Pretty simple, right? apt, dnf, or yum is the package manager, and install is what you're telling it to do. Of course, these tools can do way more than that, but we've still got 12 commands to go, so let's keep at it. Now, eagle-eyed viewers, I'm sure that's you, might have noticed ping in one of the examples. Now it's time to learn on what it does. And that's very simple. It sends a packet to the specified destination and fetches the responses. If you're having network issues, ping is the way to begin troubleshooting. If you don't add the number of pings to send out with the -c option, followed by an integer, Linux will perform the command forever, or until you close it with Ctrl+C. Use the -i option to specify the delay between the pings. Now, here's what the command to send out 15 packets every 2 seconds to google.com looks like. If you want to download something to your server, run wget. It's as easy as adding the URL after the command, so go ahead and try it. Now, the next command is similar but has more options. Run curl to transfer data from or to a server by specifying its URL. If you omit the options, you'll get the HTML content of the specified URL. Meanwhile, you can add -o to download the files that are located at that URL. Now, you'll undoubtedly learn more about curl later on, but now let's move on to the next command, and that is scp. Use it to securely transfer files and directories between systems over a network. Skip the IP and path if you're copying from the local machine's current directory. Finally, you can change the port you wish to use by adding the -p option. In this example, we're copying file.txt to the directory specified within our VPS server using the port number 68. Transferring data is alright, but What if you want to sync the content of two directories? You can do that with the rsync command. The source and destination can be a folder within the same system, a local machine, or a remote server. If you are syncing content with a VPS, specify the username and IP address, like in this example. Next up, IP. Use this command to manage your system's network parameters. When you begin, it's a good idea to run IP without any arguments. Doing so will print out a manual for IP together with the permitted options, objects, and their explanations. For now, try this command out. See what I did? It printed out your current IP address. Pretty nice, huh? Well, we're really online now. The next command, netstat, displays information about your system's network configuration. Netstat is all about the options. Now pause the video to see them and then try them out in practice. For more network diagnostics, traceroute is your friend. Just like ping, it sends a packet to the destination. However, it also tracks all the detours along the way. Meanwhile, nslookup will come in handy if you want to see what domain name a particular IP resolves to, or vice versa. Specify the DNS server if you wish. Alternatively, leave it blank and the command will use your ISP's default DNS resolver. Want even more information about a particular domain? Time to dig. Literally, that's the name of the command. Here, server is the DNS server you wish to use. Now, for this, you can leave it blank as before. Meanwhile, type refers to the type of record you wish to pull. Now, what could the command history possibly do? I would have never guessed it, but apparently checks the previously run utilities. Crazy, right? The utilities will be printed in a list. You can run any of them by typing in the exclamation point followed by the number like this. If you wish to clear the history, just rerun the command with -r as the option. And finally, the last command, guys, is for everyone who loves to learn and be curious. And if you've watched till now, that's you for sure. Run man to view the manual associated with another utility. The section number here means the section of the manual. There are 9, by the way. If you skip it, you'll get the whole manual for the command. And there you have it. With 55 Linux commands now in your arsenal, you are a force to be reckoned with. A proper apprentice tech guru. Congratulations. Now make sure to leave a comment about your favorite Linux command, or if you think we missed one that is really important, also please do let us know. Now, if you found this video helpful, leave us a like and also consider subscribing to our channel for more helpful videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.